What's up, everybody? BigHerc916, getting down with Fresh Out Ministries. We're over here in Costa Mesa at the Side Street Cafe. I'm here with a regular, Matt, and dude, we're doing this pay it forward, supporting community restaurants. This restaurant's been here since 1992, and we want to talk to some of the regulars to see why they keep coming back. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about how long you've been coming here and what's some of the reasons you come back.
So I've been coming here probably 5 or 6 years, and I found this place just driving by. I was hungry, figured I'd stop in and have a bite, and immediately was enamored with everyone who worked here, because most importantly, it's a small business. It's a family-owned and ran small business, which is the ethos of the backbone of this country. And so, I love seeing that. I love seeing, families work together, small businesses work together. Great food, great people. Everyone keeps coming here. It's just one of those places where you come enough, you become friends with them, and you kind of become a little bit of family, which is what you don't get with these big chain restaurants that have no soul.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I've been coming here for like 10 years, and the vibe is very welcoming. And, my thing is like, we need people to interact and work and realize that we have so much more in common. And restaurants like this, like I said, this place was packed before COVID. You used to get an hour wait, and now they're trying to keep their doors open. So being able to frequent a place like this that shows support is critical.
Absolutely. And, COVID was, a huge affront on small businesses. I mean, the reality is, the evidence comes out now that it was so obviously was the flu propagandized into a pandemic, so they can utilize that for whatever political or cultural narrative they wanted to push. And so, Diane stayed open during the pandemic bravely, didn't want to close her doors, kept feeding the community, and because of that, I will forever patron this place. The gym that I go to, I passed 20 other gyms to go there because he stayed open during the pandemic. And, when the officers came down and told him to close, he said, "I'll close my business. It feeds my family. It feeds your family." So people that that have the backbone to stand up to tyranny and propagandists, and I'll hear none of this. It was a real pandemic and people died and all this. More and more evidence comes out every day showing that it was nothing but a complete psyop against the American people. And it worked for a period of time, but I think most people now realize it didn't work. It wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the businesses that were brave enough to stand through it came out on top, and I'll forever be a customer.
I feel the same way, man. It was a big shifting of wealth. A lot of people took a lot of people's wealth, and they were able to stay open. And I came here even during the pandemic, I call it, and I feel like it's so important that people like you, people like us, get together, have dialogue. Come here, I always meet somebody new. I met like 5 people today, have this type of dialogue, and we see we're really not all that different. We have the same values, we want the same things. Everybody wants to be able to feed their family, have a safe environment, protect your kids, and, build community. And that's the thing where, I grew up where you knew all your neighbors.
Right.
You go to so-and-so's house, we'll have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right.
Your Big Will over here. Right. We're going to play football with 10 kids over here. So-and-so's cooking tacos. It was just such a good vibe, and everybody was cool. And we got into the point now it's all this. Nobody talks, everybody does this, and by nature, we're creatures that we need to interact.
Right.
We're talking, social creatures. The more you talk, the happier you feel. You don't feel like you fit in. We're not introvert creatures.
Right. Forget his name, but one of the famous authors, traveling and getting out there is the biggest, thing to fight against stupidity and ignorance and that sort of thing. Right?
That's right.
So I think you see the media does a real good job of taking the extreme fringes on either side, amplifying it, trying to push that as the norm, get everyone to fight in between on the insides, right? And so the key is to divide and conquer, right? So keep us divided. So when they say diversity is our greatest strength, it's their greatest strength, it's our greatest weakness. Because they promote diversity, and when you have two diverse opinions, you want to have people come together to form a union to go up against the big guy.
You're right.
Amazon admits to this when Amazon says we promote a diverse workplace because they know two diverse opinions, they won't form a union.
You're right.
So we have to. So the cultural media narrative of the MSN and all their propagandists is to get all of us hating ourselves, hating each other. One issue voters, you know, if you think one thing differently than me, we're supposed to hate each other, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So personally, me, I follow the George Washington school, which is no political parties. And his quote was, "No political parties, for they will not be used for the betterment of the citizenry, but will instead use to enact revenge on one another." And look what's happening nowadays. The system is designed to get every side fighting each other and hating each other instead of having a dialogue. The dialogue stops, right? So that's what we see what's going on now. So from my perspective, get rid of the political parties, because when you have a political party, it's designed to divide. Now I've split the country in half, right? Now let's add more political parties and continue, right? Again, dividing and conquering, the oldest trick in the book, and it works.
Keep cutting the pie.
Right. The scariest thing they want is for a conversation to happen and for a community to come together without the direction of the government, the state, the hand.
That's right.
Right?
They want to have a hand in every dialogue, every conversation. That's why social media is being controlled. That's why they control the algorithm. And you're right about traveling too, because I've traveled a little bit, and I can recall like even going to Alabama or Louisiana, and people telling me, "Hey man, you better watch out. You're going to Alabama." I'm like, "What's in Alabama, man? Be careful." And I went out there. I had people that recognized me. "Hey, Big Herc, what's up, man?" I'm like, "What's up, man?" Dude, the greatest feeling, talking with people there, sitting down, and you realize like you go to Alabama and they make it seem like it's this watch out state, but it's not as bad as you think. You know, just like when I moved to Arizona, same thing. But you know, you get out, you start talking to people, and you realize, dude, we have the same interests. Why are we? You know, they're telling us that there's something that's not the same, but in all actuality, they don't want us to talk because that, you know, kind of precipitates their boogeyman.
Right. Talking creates understanding. Understanding reduces conflict.
That's right.
So they understand that. So as long as they can control the media narrative, for the longest time they had to control it because all they had was television. They had no other source of information. That's right. But you can speak. So the internet came about, right? The problem is they're good and bad with the internet. You know, we still haven't figured out the internet, which is why it creates all these problems. Because now you can learn all these problems, and I'm supposed to care about all this stuff instead of looking at the community. I got to worry about some kid in Syria and what, you know, it's like, well, I'm sorry that's happening, but we have to focus here on the United States, all of us here. And so anything they can do to spread that around and confuse people, you know, like one of the popular ones is, you know, gender is a social construct, right? They talk about gender. Well, I think it's a problem with the misunderstanding of definitions. Okay, what is a social construct? A social construct is unwritten rules. I'll give you an example, like putting the shopping cart back. Nobody says you have to do it. Putting it back makes it easier, right? Holding the door for people, right? Things like that. Those are social constructs. Calling a biological male or a female, a boy or a girl, is a social construct. Because when you group social constructs together, you get what's called a culture. So cultures are groups of social constructs. Mexican culture, piñatas, cervezas, quinceañeras, tejado, right? You mix those things together, what do you have? Mexican culture, right? So there are varying different social constructs that create cultures, right? So in America right now, we have one culture that considers a man and a woman as two genders. And we have another culture that is infinite genders. Cut your genitals off and fashion it into the opposite one. All of these ridiculous degenerate things, right? So that culture has its social constructs, and we have ours. So we're in a culture in America. This culture wishes to destroy that and destroy this culture, right? And so the problem is this whole, well, let live and let live. Well, I'm just going to let them do that. That's fine. Well, they're not bothering me. I'm going to do that. The problem is those problems fester. It gets to the point now where you have LGBT gay parades, where you have men and women dressed in sexually provocative gear, dangling sex toys off of them, hoisting our children up and having these parades down the street. Not technically illegal, but not certainly safe, and not the type of culture that we want. We want our children to be. So the whole thing is when you get to that point of arguing about this, well, semantics, is it objectively right or wrong? The final metric you have to look at is okay, is your ideology conducive to a safe, well-functioning, high-trust society. And that's what we're looking for. Like you talked about back in the day, high trust. If you left home and accidentally left your door unlocked and your garage door open, nobody would steal anything. Heck, your neighbor might go over and I closed it for you and I locked it. I saw you left it okay, right? But in a low trust society, the garage is empty. Unsafe, low trust, right? Those are the problems that are created by those ideologies. So when they try to argue that, it's like, well, look at what you're causing. You know? And they understand that they need to get a hold of our children, like get into the schools, because that mind is the first one. Once you trick somebody into an ideology, trying to turn them around from it, trying to de-psyop, trying to de-trick them, it's almost impossible. You almost can't do it, which is sad, which is scary. So we've got a whole bunch of problems we have to solve. Culture in this country. It's a culture. It's a culture. And you see that culture of, it really is evil, good versus evil.
Yeah. I almost feel like it's a spiritual war in a sense where you have this darker energy or vibration, and then you have a higher vibration. And like you said, where once you've been psyop, trying to reverse that. And I've seen kind of like all this, like when COVID, they were saying, okay, it's okay to loot, it's okay to steal. And then all those people who would have normally been going to jobs or maybe college or school, like, dude, we were stealing shoes, so let's just go rob the weed man, or let's rob the Uber guy, and it just progresses. So as people progress, it's like they're almost on like an autopilot until something dramatic happens and they're in cuffs or in a room with these walls and they're locked up and they're like, oh my God, how'd I get caught up in the shooting? So you don't even realize it until it's like almost like a shock situation. And so people just think, oh man, it's no big thing. Keep letting them out on bail. Oh, they get caught with a gun. Dude, I just got out. I had a gun. I'm back at it. Because you haven't really got it out of you. And you've been programmed to think it's okay. And I was talking with somebody the other day, and even like this area right here, I remember working out here back in the 90s. You would never see, there was not crime. You didn't have the type of crime or, home invasions or, Rolex robberies. I mean, but now literally people are like, man, look, over there, everybody's pretty like, naive. Let's go rob those people now. And it's just, that's not normal behavior. That's not a community anybody wants to promote.
But when you promote a cultural narrative where that's okay, you see that like in Hollywood. Hollywood is great at promoting degenerate cultural narratives, right? Behind every degenerate, all of the songs, right? All of our songs and our media and our programming and everything, it's across the totality of cultures. You see this increase in the prevalence of trans kids and gay kids, and they like to say, well, that's just normal. No. It's that when you promote that messaging, a subset of the populace is very much going to be vulnerable to that. And when you promote that messaging, their vulnerability is going to become action by them, and they're going to end up taking part in whatever that is. Destroying their body, their genitalia, coming into something completely different than they don't want to do. What you find are these kids that have done that, later on down the years, they completely regret what they're doing. The problem is, because they've had a permanent surgery in their body, they've completely messed themselves up, there's no turning back. And you have suicide. It's the highest rate of transgender people is suicide.
Now, we look at the kids and stuff, and I know we kind of got away from the Science Street Cafe, we're having such a great conversation.
I know.
But like, I would say like the whole thing about like the isolation, where when you create that isolation, people start feeling like I don't belong to a tribe. We used to BMX all day, skateboard, play football, basketball, or whatever we were doing outside. I mean, you were part of like almost like a group. You feel like you fit in. You had a community, but as we got away from that, kids don't go outside. They're playing these virtual games for 2 or 3 days, not showering and eating Doritos, and they're not really interacting physically. Your mind, you kind of like get almost like a dystopia of what reality is, because you're living in such a fantasy. You're plugged in so tight, you know what I mean? So you're not like how we're talking, and you can read body language, and it's just different. So I don't know, like you said, technology in the sense of progress, but then it also regress humans as far as our ability to interact and to understand what we can like feel like that's right or wrong. Because kids now, you watch something and it's like almost like you're programmed like, oh man, this is normal.
Right. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, had a manifesto, and the title was, well, his opening statement was, "Technology has been a disaster for the human race. You know, industrial society and its future has just been a disaster for us," right? So think back prior to technology. You know, you and I came from the analog before we had digital, right?
Yeah.
Where everything, you know, we didn't have any cool video games. It sucked to be inside, so we were outside. We didn't come home until it was dark, right?
Yeah.
You know? Nowadays, video games are so cool, so interesting, right? You got a kid sitting on the couch, drinking his energy drinks, right? And he's playing video games all day, and then 10 years down the road, he wonders why he's morbidly obese and has diabetes, right? Metabolic disease, right? Because the culture again changes, it destroys it. Same thing with marriage, right? We used to have there was a cultural pressure to get married, stay married, have kids, good, right? A woman had a child out of wedlock, well, you might not see her, she might go to the church, have a baby in church, and then there she goes because it was looked down on, it was shameful now. Nowadays, it's completely flipped. Oh, you go, girl, single mom, single this, single that, right? And so the promotion of feminism and the halving of the wages, what that did was that forced now when you have the current culture is very good for economics, because when you have divorced people, now you have two consumers of houses, two consumers of two people, right? Now you've doubled the size of your economy, and the economists and the capitalists only care about, well, we just have infinite growth. Why do we need to have growth? Why? What happened to just cohesive communities of ideologically aligned people working together, being happy, right? Case in point, the Amish.
Yeah.
The fastest growing group in the world. By 2050, the Amish will be more populous than 20% of the other cultures in America. Yeah. No autism and sickness. Right?
Yeah.
Because what are they? No technology, none of that. Cohesive, ideologically aligned, community, working together. I'm sick, there's 20 other women that can help take care of the baby while mom's sick today, or what, right? Everybody raises them, right? Happy, and they're happy, right? Now you introduce technology and all of these different things, all these different ideas that break apart the family, right? Because you ask the modern kid nowadays what's important to the strength of the nation, they'll say the individual. The reality is it's the family unit. Because the family unit votes for policies and laws that are safe and conducive to raising safe families and safe families.
And I think one of the biggest things, like even on our channel that we talk about, is like the lack of male role models, the lack of fatherhood, and the father, you know, like you said, a lot of women saying, "Oh, I can do it by myself. I raised this kid." But what do you have? A bunch of emotional men who are quick to result in violence, shoot, steal, whatever, and they don't have the rational ability or the coping mechanism that they would have with your dad. Hey, son, sometimes you lose, sometimes you don't win. Hey, you know, this happens when you do this. These are things that men teach you that women can't teach you, because women are emotional. They react off the way they feel. They don't look at things and take a step back and be like, you know what, next time we'll get them. You know, and that's the thing, like a father teaches you, or uncle, or, you know, we were part of the last generation where we had a relative that went into a war that came home, and we kind of, these guys weren't no joke. It was like you got these talks sometimes, like, hey man, shut your mouth and listen here, blah, 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 I went through this. And you took that life lesson. A lot of these kids, they don't respect the elders, and they're not getting the life lessons. So if you have your biggest life lessons is the kid down the street who's 19 years old, who's been running around with no dad either. It's just a bunch of kids repeating the same shit, and everybody's basically trying to crazy, and they don't know what it's like to even be a man.
Children raising children.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, forget what I was going to say, but you know, for the longest time, you know, the father and the husband has been replaced by the state nowadays, because when it comes to divorce or getting marriage, it's very easy for the woman to have no responsibilities or consequences if she decides to divorce or whatnot. The courts generally usually always side in their favor, side with the outlaw, side with the custody of the children, that sort of thing. So when you reduce the security a man can have by choosing a woman to get married, with potential down the line of him getting divorced, raped, and dragged over the coals and beat up and that sort of thing, it reduces the impetus to want to get married. You hear that nowadays with kids talking about, I'm never going to have a house, and finding somebody to get married with, the divorce rates through the roof. Because again, there's no cultural pressure to stay married. You know, back in our day, you know, who were our heroes back in day? You know, we had Rambo and right? We had all these tough, strong, highly strict morals, focused guys that were out there fighting, right? So that was the role model. I wanted to be a big, strong guy.
Risking their life.
Right?
Yeah.
Go out and save the women and children, kill the bad guys, and come back to my farm, that sort of thing. And you're right. Nowadays, it's replaced with these morally ambiguous, even sexually ambiguous people. Like, what am I looking at? What is the messaging I'm being told? And nothing's being told to me other than just do whatever you want. Everything matters. Nothing matters, right? So it is a spiritual thing. It's glaringly obvious nowadays. And the only way out of it, I see, is an acceleration of this degeneracy which we're breaking. Because if you saw the opening ceremony for the Olympics, I mean, now,
come on, man.
but here's the thing. Why didn't they have a representation of Muhammad having an inappropriate relation with a goat? Why didn't they do any other religion? Because they know that Christianity and Christians won't fight back.
That's right. No, you're right.
And Christians aren't going to like this, but Christians nowadays, you're not real Christians. You have nothing in common with the Christians of more. Give them a shield and a sword. Will fight for their beliefs, what they mean. So we have a bunch of demoralized people out there nowadays, purposely demoralized and beaten and downtrodden. 400 million guns in this country. How come we're not seeing murders of people like a Pelosi or CNN people and heads of financial institute? No. All we're getting here in America is school shootings, which just happen to be provide the most political capital one can spend on anti-gun legislation, right? So it's a complete psyop. Why are we not in a civil war now? When you look back at what we went to war before, a little bit of taxes,
and the 4%,
tea,
right?
You remember tarring and feathering would kill you. That's boiling oil. You're screaming as you're you're dead, right? And that sends a message, right? So the problem is, on the left organizes. They circle the wagons. They do a really good job of it. Everyone on the right infights, right? The problem is everyone's stuck in these boxes of argument. You're not pulling out, looking at 30,000 people and saying, it's pretty much a false dichotomy of choice being presented to us as left versus right. It's a uniparty, right? Because the reality is APAC runs the Americans run the country. Every decision they make, they admit it. Every time they want to make a decision, I have to go to my APAC handler and ask them what I want to do, which is why we kiss Israel's ass all the time, right? I fought the war. I've been over there. It was for nothing. And I'll speak for a lot of vets when I say that war was for nothing. Look at how we pulled out. What did we get? What did we change? Did we get any oil for it? Did we get any money for it? Did we get any land? We didn't get anything. What did we get? A bunch of dead American boys and women. That's what we got. But a continuation of this. We're a Ponzi scheme military-industrial complex in an open-air mall. That's what America is. Here's the scheme. We got to keep wars going because the military. Our biggest budget is $700 billion, right, for military, right? So we got to keep the wars going, right? So you see now when when inflation's through the roof, when our economy's crashing, every time that happens, you do another war, right? So what are the rattling now? First, they really tried in Russia with Ukraine. So next up, you're hearing they're rattling the swords for Iran. Right? It's just because we need to keep making tanks and. Right, our Lockheed Martins, our Boeings, and our Raytheons, and all those need to keep making tanks and everything. It's sad. So I know I'm getting way off. Here we are.
Do you think people are waking up? I think there's a silent group out there that doesn't really say a whole lot. So you see a lot of one view, and you think everybody thinks like that. But I talk to other veterans that we've interviewed, and a lot of them have the same perception of what's going on. But it's they just don't have the stage. Because the stage right now is being controlled by a certain demographic of people who want a certain narrative, which makes you think that everybody is down with everybody's cutting off the thing and everybody's down with the bullshit.
Right. The messaging is to trick you, and the messaging is to trick you into thinking that you're the minority.
Yes.
We're not here. We're very few of us, right? So you have three boxes, right? You have the ballot box, you have the soap box, and you have the ammo box, right? So they took away the ballot box. This idea that voting works and voting, please stop. You have no way to know if your vote counted, right? You look at the previous election, with the amount of bellwethers and counties won in states and everything. And there is statistically no possibility that Biden should have won, right? But how do you know? You can play games that control everything, right? There's no way to know that your vote counts. So you've got the vote thing, right? So if you take away the voting, and then now you're getting censored from your ballot box, you're getting censored. You can't speak your mind on these platforms, right? Because, and the shadow banning and all that, you speak out on something, and they're still showing it. Even with Elon Musk buying Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, it's still easy to show that certain viewpoints can be censored about things, which shows, well, if you want to know who controls you, who you're not allowed to talk about, right? So if they take away the soapbox, then the last thing is the ammo box. But I'm of the opinion these people won't do anything. I don't know how far Americans have to be pushed for them to.
Well, I thought it would be the kids, man.
Coming for our kids, right?
I thought it'd be the kids when the stuff like, go back 20 years, and any stuff that they're showing in the schools right now, or taught reading in the books, if that was in any library, it would be no joke. The school would be, that same day, there'd be 100 dads up there tearing shit up. Right. And now you got these guys sitting there very passive, I don't know where half the fathers are when their kids are standing there with these reading hours of whoever, this shit, I don't know, dude, I don't have anything, but it blows me away.
Yeah. Well, it's because some of the fathers that did that ended up getting arrested and then getting knocked on the door by the FBI, and then those stories are propagated and promoted so that it says, see, even if you try, nothing will happen, you won't make it. So just give up that stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So, Antifa's, the way they did their operations is the way that the MAGA people should have done their operations. Cover your face, clear your throat, right? Which is why very few people from Antifa are getting, in front of judges versus all the people that, went to January 6th.
I know.
In front of them.
I just see where they painted on the Liberty Bell and they were burning the American flag, dude. I couldn't believe it. I turned it off. I couldn't believe it.
How does that help me for your cause? Let's destroy the historical monuments of the country that we're in, trying to get this country to support our cause. But both sides. I was in the Middle East. I've been, Gaza is an open air prison. The Israelis do treat them like that. But both sides they have no business being done whatsoever. Israel is our greatest ally, if they are. Then how many wars have they fought by themselves as our greatest ally? It's going to be zero. Pay for everything over there. Their Iron Dome and all the military stuff is 100% paid for by us. If they didn't have us, they would have been wiped off. Because they piss off every one of their neighbors everywhere around them. Why does every Middle Eastern neighbor despise Israel? It's disgusting. It's sad, So I understand the Palestinians and what they're doing. If people really understood what was going on, is that you're in an open air prison. And so you have children growing up being abused by Israel who are just, what do you expect them to do? They're going to revenge their father. But on either side, it's like, why are we even over there? Can I get my pothole fixed on my road? No, I need $3 billion over there for them. Thanks a bunch, right?
What is it? They said they just miscalculated the controller that they actually sent an extra $6.2 billion to Zelensky.
Sorry. Yeah. And that $300 million pier we were building, that's already gone.
It's crazy, and like I said, I have the utmost respect for anybody who serves in the military and to have to come back and actually witness it firsthand. I feel everybody that's done any type of combat, you guys should be millionaires. They should have been taking care of you, but it's not treated that way. It's like it's almost like expendables. And it's disgusting. I got a lot of military family, a lot of military friends, and dude, it's just, I don't know when people are going to wake up, but I think the more conversations we have, the more people can hear something coming from somebody that's been there firsthand, they will maybe something good.
I hope so. I think every VA should be closed because I was part of the Arizona VA. They had 2 waiting lists, and if you're on this one waiting list, you never get seen, you die from that waiting list. So every veteran should get a card that has gold or platinum level service. And wherever you go, any hospital, any medical facility, you show it, they'll take it, they'll get paid. Shut down every VA. It's useless. Get rid of it. Worse, the doctors there are going to the chiropractors there, like 400-pound overweight chiropractor. You tell me about being in health? Get out of here, So, and then, you're right. The sad thing is that all of these private veteran assistance organizations exist is sad. It should never have to exist to take care of our veterans, right? America, all these, some million, Wounded Warrior Project, all this shit. You're right. Those should never have to exist. Because why would you start one? Because our government takes such good care of our veterans. But no, you're right. It's just, and you can see the messaging if you pay real attention close. So look at all of the Army and military ads these last 4 years. Nothing but a bunch of, my mom was 2 lesbians and now I'm right cartoons and I'm gay and a gay for right. And then now, when they want to go to war, what do they change it? It shows all white men. Watch it, right? Because it's like, hey, guess we need to fight our wars. Susie with the pink hair that's on 15 different medications and doesn't know her gender isn't too good in the trench.
Navy guy in go-go boots who wants to dance on the ship now, he's not ready for combat. We'll go get somebody.
We need the boys who are actually going to go shoot and fight in the war. Let's go back into the meat grinder. There you go for a war. So don't join the military. We print our own money, so why do we pay taxes? No one can answer that question. You cannot answer that. We print our own money, why do we pay taxes? There's no, right? There's no, right? We print our own money. Why do I need to pay you? Just print more of your money. That's what we do. You printed trillions of it, and you're worried about me? Pentagon can't account for $3 trillion, but you want to know where my 600 went on PayPal? Right? So it's like, what are you going to do? So we're in this kind of spiral, and it just keeps going. It just keeps going, right? And you notice, especially with the woke mind virus, I kind of Elon when he calls it that, because you see how kind of right, so like wokeness and all that, and spiral goes on. They're constantly pushing worse and worse and worse. Like you see, you can get caught in it, right? So J.K. Rowling, who was she wrote The Hobbit, right?
Yep.
Very much super hyper feminist, right? So you would think the wokeness would be fine with her. But the second she came out against transvestites, well, now woke attacks her. And they hate her and they attack her all the time. So what happens is, as that spiral keeps going down, well, okay, now it's gays. Okay, well, now let's transvestites. Okay, well, now you're attracted persons and I want to touch your kids. And, right? So the problem is, as that spiral keeps going down, if you don't stay ahead of that spiral from the cultural narrative of the woke left, you'll get eaten by it. See? And so J.K. Rowling, because she was a feminist, so she was on their side, she was okay with lesbians and gay, right? And all of a sudden she said, no transvestite. She thought it was disgusting and insulting to women. Well, she was too far back on that spiral, and now that's why the left attacks her. So you have to. So it's insidious because the cultural narrative train, the locomotive of the woke thing, you have to stay ahead of it, or else it will run you over. And the problem is, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So if you want to identify with that movement and you don't agree with the minor attracted person thing, well, you're going to have to keep your mouth shut and maybe tacitly support it, because if you don't, then that movement will eat you. So that's how that movement keeps everyone in line. It keeps pushing it worse and worse and worse. It's horrible. It keeps going right. It just keeps going. So that's why we continually, every day you wake up and you see something new and you're like, why is this drag kid? Why does this, why are the drag shows in front of kids and drag schoolbook story hour at libraries and stuff where drag queens are reading to kids? It's like, why are you reading to kids? And they'll come back and say, well, what does it hurt you? Nothing doesn't hurt anyone, right? It's like, no, you're trying to indoctrinate the kids. You're trying to normalize this degeneracy, right? Which is precisely what the church fights against. So the opening ceremony to the Olympics was a directive to the church. Burning down Notre Dame and all these churches. It's all these Christian churches now, right? It's like, so the question is now, what are the Christians going to do? If passivity and turn the other cheek, I think it's me misreading the turn the other cheek. Because it's, you hit me, I'll turn the other cheek. It's a dare to let you hit me on the other cheek. That's what it is. And then you knock it down. Not this whole turn the other cheek, go away. Same thing with Gandhi. This whole, peace thing. Read the whole quote. He said, I'll choose war first, and if violence doesn't work first, then I'll choose peace. But everybody focuses on, I will always choose peace. No, knock them down. That's the thing. You got evil prevails, but good men do nothing. Well, stand back in the corner, good men, and watch your kids get, raped by adults, because that's what they want. And sometimes you can argue either side. Is it they do it because they really want to see us do it? No, they do it because it's a humiliation ritual. And this happened before. Many years, many centuries ago in different countries, they would do these humiliation rituals against defeated populations to parade them around and say, "Hey, we win. Look what we can do to you." So I see some of that here. People are like, they don't like it, or we're going to do it because they don't like it, not necessarily because we want
And
it.
there's my stick out.
So it's beautiful what you're doing. This is what needs to be done because it's real, it's grassroots, it starts at the bottom, it gets people together, and you know, a little shining light on this is I agree with you. When I go out and talk to people in public, we're all tend to be in agreement. But when we go to our phone, you know, and we look at the flashing screen, it's telling me something completely different, and in a manner with trying to get me to think like, well, I'm in the minority.
Yeah, I don't
Nobody else
stand a
thinks
chance,
like me.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
stand a chance. Give up, right? I'm not giving up. I don't think you're giving up.
No.
So.
By any means. And I appreciate you coming
Absolutely.
on, man.
No, thanks. Sorry if I
Thank
rattled
you.
a bunch.
No, thank you.
I hope it
Hey,
helps.
BigHerc916, Fresh Out Ministries. You know how we do it. Subscribe and share.
Thank you.
Visit BigHerc916.com to pick up a limited edition GTA poster signed by me for $10, or with your purchase of a Wig Splitter Porsche t-shirt, I'll throw in a free poster. Coming. I gotta hurry up and wash my ass. Go to BigHerc916.com, pick you up a bar of soap, and wash your ass, or else you're gonna be under arrest too. Oh shit.